Okay, so here's the before picture taken from above, before I began the overhaul. And the reason why I did an overhaul is because recently I saw photos and video of myself playing, and I noticed how high up I was sitting. That bothered me because I realized that my center of gravity was too high, and just in terms of ease of motion and all that type of stuff, I realized that over the years, my setup, everything in my setup had been raised up to accommodate for a deeper snare drum. So I knew that I needed to break everything down and sort of start over. So the first step was to remove all the cymbals. So here's the kit with the cymbals removed. Then the next step was for me to remove the snare drum and the throne. So I took those out of the setup as well. And then I set them up out front so that I could actually sit down and make sure that I was comfortable with the height of the throne and the snare drum. Then it was time to remove all the hardware, so I was left with just the drums, and then we're all the way down to the carpet. You can see the marks on the carpet there too. I'm going to strip those away and start over on those as well, because I realized that the positioning of everything is going to change. But first, check out where the bottom of my throne started. The bottom of my throne started right around 20.5 inches, you can see there. At the end of this whole process, it had lowered by almost 2 inches. You can see that it's there right around 18.5, 18.75 inches. So I lost basically 2 inches in height of my throne. And then this shows where my snare drum stand started. That is the portion of the cradle closest to me. So you can see that that portion of the cradle underneath the snare drum started at around 18.5 inches, and then by the end of this it was down to 17 inches. So I lost a good 1.5 inches there, which is really amazing. So again, now we're back to the overhead shot. That is the carpet with all of the marks, which I got down on my hands and knees and took everything off. So now all those marks are gone, and then it was time to start over. So the three most important components are kick drum, snare drum, and hi-hat. So I brought those into the picture, and once I got everything situated, I sat down and I played just that setup to make sure I was comfortable. The next step was for me to reintroduce the floor tom and to bring in the other side of the double kick pedal. For the floor tom, I needed to make sure it was at the right height and the right angle, and that it was comfortable to play on. I also needed to make sure that the other side of the double kick pedal fit between my hi-hat and my snare drum. So once those were attached, I played that setup as well. Then it was time for me to bring back the rack tom. Again, I needed to make sure it was in the perfect position, and I needed to make sure it was at the right height and the right angle to be able to play comfortably. So once I brought that back, I sat down and played that setup as well. Once all that was set, it was easy to bring back the hardware and set the electronics. And once that was in place, it was easy to mount the cymbals. Once the cymbals were mounted, I sat down and finished off the playing portion to make sure that everything was in the correct position.